The great crystal dome of the Galactic Council chambers sparkled under a dozen different suns. Ambassador Zethkar stood at the center of the massive hall, his blue skin gleaming as he prepared to present humanity's case for membership. Around him, representatives from hundreds of alien species sat in floating chairs and crystalline pods. Their various eyes, sensors, and appendages focused on the holographic display that showed a small blue planet called Earth. Elder Vostai of the Ethereal Collective floated in his energy bubble, his translucent form pulsing with soft light. He studied the images of humans walking through cities, farming fields, and playing with their young. His voice echoed through the chamber like distant music. These creatures appear harmless. Look at their soft skin, their small teeth, their weak limbs. They have no natural armor, no claws, no venom sacs. General Crix of the Saurid Empire leaned forward in his massive chair, his scales rattling as he moved. His yellow eyes narrowed as he examined the data. Their bones are hollow, like bird bones. Their muscles are weak compared to proper predator species. They have no heat vision, no electromagnetic sense, no telepathic abilities. How did such fragile beings even survive on their own planet? The insectoid Queen Zakath clicked her mandibles in what passed for laughter among her kind. They do not even have a proper hive mind. Each human thinks only for itself. How can they coordinate without shared thoughts? How can they plan without collective consciousness? Ambassador Zethkar cleared his throat, trying to maintain diplomatic composure. He had been chosen for this task because his species had made first contact with humans 6 months ago. His people, the crystalline hegemony, prided themselves on careful analysis and logical thinking. But even he struggled to understand why the humans had impressed him so much during their initial meetings. Honored council members, he began, while humans may appear physically unremarkable, they have achieved remarkable things. They have developed faster than light travel independently. They have unified their entire planet under a single government. They have eliminated poverty and war from their homeworld. Captain Thexara of the Void Runners snorted, a sound like steam escaping from metal pipes. Her cybernetic implants glowed as she accessed the human data files. Any species can achieve peace once they run out of things to fight about. These humans probably exhausted their planet's resources and had no choice but to cooperate. Look at their population numbers. Only 8 billion on an entire planet. Clearly they are a dying species. The ethereal elder's light pulsed thoughtfully. Their technology is primitive by our standards. Their weapons are kinetic projectiles and chemical explosives. They have no energy shields, no gravity manipulators, no quantum disruptors. Their ships are made of simple metal alloys. A child from any proper species could disable their vessels with basic tools. Dr. Morketh, the lead xenobiologist for the Council, adjusted his multiple optical sensors as he reviewed the biological data. His spider-like form tapped nervously at his console. Their physiology is most puzzling. They are omnivores, but they lack the proper digestive systems for processing raw meat efficiently. They require their food to be cooked, burned with fire, before consumption. This suggests they are primarily plant eaters who occasionally scavenge already dead animals. General Crix's tail lashed behind him as he spoke. Their military formations are laughably simple. They march in straight lines, use basic flanking maneuvers, and rely heavily on ranged weapons because they are too weak for proper close combat. Their largest weapons are fusion devices, crude tools that destroy everything in a wide area, because they lack the precision for targeted elimination of enemies. Queen Zakt's compound eyes focused on the human city images. Look at their architecture. They build tall structures reaching toward the sky, wasting valuable space. They separate their living areas, their working areas, and their food production areas. No efficiency, no logical hive design. Each human lives separately, thinking only of its own survival. The discussion continued for hours. The council examined human art, which they found chaotic and emotional rather than logical and purposeful. They studied human literature, dismissing it as fantasy and wishful thinking rather than practical knowledge. They analyzed human music, finding it too unpredictable and lacking the mathematical precision of proper harmonic structures. Ambassador. Zethkar tried repeatedly to interject positive observations. He mentioned human creativity, their ability to solve problems in unexpected ways, their remarkable persistence when facing challenges. But his words were drowned out by the overwhelming consensus of the Council. "The evidence is clear," declared Elder Vostai finally. "These humans are a Tier 7 species, suitable for agricultural worlds and basic resource extraction, but requiring protection and guidance from more advanced civilizations. They show no signs of aggressive tendencies, no capacity for large-scale warfare, and no threat to galactic stability." The vote was unanimous. Humanity was granted membership in the Galactic Council as a protected species. They would be assigned several agricultural worlds in the Outer Rim territories, far from major trade routes and strategic resources. Their technology would be limited to prevent them from accidentally harming themselves or others. Their population expansion would be carefully monitored to ensure they did not strain the resources of their assigned worlds. Captain Sarah Chen watched the Council proceedings from the bridge of the exploration vessel Endeavour, stationed just outside the Nexus Prime system. The quantum relay transmitted every word, every gesture, every dismissive comment directly to her ship. Around her, the bridge crew maintained professional composure, but she could see the subtle signs of amusement in their eyes. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez, her tactical officer, shook his head slowly. "Agricultural worlds, Captain. They want to turn us into farmers." "Tier 7 protected species," added Chief Engineer Park with barely contained laughter. "Because we're too primitive and peaceful to be a threat." Captain Chen studied the holographic display showing the Council chamber. She had spent 15 years in the Colonial Marines before joining the Space Navy. She had fought in 3 different colonial wars, survived the Martian siege, and personally led the assault that ended the Europa Rebellion. Looking at the assembled aliens, with their claws, their armor, their energy weapons, she felt something she had not experienced in years. She felt like a predator looking at prey that did not know it was being hunted. "Send a message to Fleet Command," she ordered quietly. "Tell them the Council has made their decision. Humanity has been underestimated just as we hoped. Operation parameters are now in effect." Her communications officer nodded and began encoding the message. In a few hours it would reach Earth through the quantum relay network. Within days the real response would begin. The Council thought they had categorized humanity safely. They thought they understood what humans were capable of. They would learn their mistake soon enough. Captain Chen looked back at the display, showing the alien representatives celebrating their wise decision to protect the harmless humans. She smiled, not the friendly smile of a diplomat, but the cold smile of a soldier who had just watched her enemy reveal their weaknesses. The galaxy was about to discover that the most dangerous predators were not always the ones with the biggest teeth. The distress signal reached the human colony ship New Horizon while it was traveling to the agricultural world assigned by the Galactic Council. Captain Elena Martinez sat in her command chair, reading the translated message from the Maloran Republic. The gentle deer-like beings were crying for help. The Ravager clans had invaded their system and were capturing civilians for their fighting arenas. "How long has this signal been broadcasting?" she asked her communications officer. 17 days, Captain. The Galactic Council received it 16 days ago." Captain Martinez frowned. 16 days, and the Council was still debating whether to respond. She had read their procedures manual. Every military action required approval from at least 3 different committees. Then it needed resource allocation approval. Then tactical planning approval. The process usually took months. The Mylorans would be extinct by then. "Ma'am," Lieutenant Torres spoke up from the tactical station. "I'm detecting movement from the other ships in our convoy. They're requesting private channel communications." Captain Martinez nodded. The other ships were supposed to be carrying farming equipment and civilian families to humanity's new agricultural worlds. But she knew better. Every ship in the convoy had been specially modified by Earth's military engineers. The New Horizon itself carried 10,000 civilians, but it also had enough firepower to level a city. The face of Colonel Marcus Torres appeared on her screen. He commanded the transport ship Freedom's Dawn, which officially carried agricultural machinery. Unofficially, it carried 3 squadrons of the most advanced fighter craft Earth had ever built. Elena, are you seeing this Myloran situation? I am. The Council isn't going to act in time. My thoughts exactly. I'm looking at our orders from Fleet Command. We're supposed to avoid military engagement unless directly threatened. But we're also supposed to gather intelligence on local military capabilities and protect human interests. Captain Martinez understood. Their real mission was not to establish farms. It was to study the galaxy's military forces and establish humanity's true position among the stars. The distress signal from the Mylorans presented an perfect opportunity. Marcus, if we respond to this situation, we'll be violating Council protocols. They specifically told us to avoid interference in local conflicts. True. But they also classified us as a peaceful species with no military capabilities. If we respond, we're just proving them wrong about our nature. And if we succeed, we send a message to everyone watching. Within an hour, the human convoy had changed course toward the Kepler 442 system. The New Horizon and her sister ships dropped their disguises. Panels slid away to reveal weapon batteries. Sensor arrays deployed from hidden compartments. The ships that had looked like simple cargo haulers now resembled what they truly were, predators designed for hunting. The Ravager clans had been operating in this sector for 200 years. They were nomadic warriors who survived by raiding weaker species. Their ships were built for intimidation, massive, angular vessels covered in spikes and weapon turrets. They relied on fear and superior firepower to overwhelm their enemies. War leader Krexvar commanded the Ravager fleet from his flagship Bloodfang. He was reviewing the latest batch of Myloran prisoners when his sensors detected new ships entering the system. The vessels were small and looked harmless, probably another refugee convoy trying to escape. Prepare the hunters, he ordered his crew. Fresh prey approaches. The Ravagers launched their attack ships, expecting easy targets. Instead, they encountered something they had never seen before. The human ships did not flee. They did not attempt to surrender. They did not even try to fight in the traditional way. Instead, they disappeared. The human vessels activated stealth systems that made them nearly invisible to Ravager sensors. When they reappeared, it was behind the Ravager ships, firing weapons that the aliens had never encountered. The human weapons did not just damage enemy vessels, they disabled specific systems with surgical precision. Major Sarah Kim commanded the fighter squadron from Freedom's Dawn. She had studied the Ravager ships during the approach, analyzing their design, their weapon placement, their probable crew layouts. Now she put that knowledge to use. Red Squadron, target their communication arrays first. Blue Squadron, hit their engine cooling systems. Gold Squadron, go for their weapon power feeds. The human fighters moved like a pack of wolves, coordinating their attacks with deadly efficiency. They did not try to destroy the Ravager ships outright. Instead, they systematically stripped away their ability to fight back. War leader Krexvar watched in horror as his fleet was dissected piece by piece. His ships were bigger and more heavily armed than the human vessels, but it did not matter. The humans fought like they knew exactly where to strike for maximum effect. "How are they doing this?" he roared at his tactical officer. "Unknown, war leader. Their weapons are penetrating our armor as if it were not there. Our communication systems are failing. Our engines are overheating." What Krexvar did not know was that the humans had been studying Ravager technology for months. Earth's intelligence networks had captured Ravager weapons from previous raids. Human engineers had analyzed every component, every design flaw, every weakness. When the time came to fight, the humans knew their enemy better than the Ravagers knew themselves. Captain Martinez coordinated the space battle while Colonel Torres led the ground assault on the Ravager base. The humans did not simply attack the base, they surrounded it completely, cutting off every escape route. They used electronic warfare to jam Ravager communications, preventing the raiders from calling for help or coordinating their defense. The ground battle was over in 6 hours. The Ravagers had expected to fight other warriors in honorable combat. Instead, they faced enemies who used tactics they had never seen. Human soldiers appeared from nowhere, struck at critical targets, and vanished before the Ravagers could respond. They used psychological warfare, playing recordings of Ravager distress calls to demoralize the enemy. They turned the raiders' own security systems against them. Most terrifying of all, the humans showed no mercy to those who had harmed the Mylorans, but they offered complete surrender to those who laid down their weapons. They did not kill for pleasure like traditional warriors. They killed with purpose, eliminating threats while preserving valuable intelligence sources. When the battle ended, over 3,000 Myloran civilians had been rescued. The Ravager fleet was completely destroyed or captured. War leader Krexvar himself sat in human custody, staring at his captors with something approaching terror. "You are not what the Council said you were," he whispered to Colonel Torres during his interrogation. "No," the colonel replied calmly. "We are not." The rescued Mylorans gathered around Captain Martinez as she prepared to depart. Their large, gentle eyes were filled with gratitude, but also with something else: fear. They had seen what the humans were capable of. They understood that their rescuers were not the peaceful farmers the Council had described. Elder Thyler, the senior Myloran survivor, approached Captain Martinez carefully. His voice was soft and musical, like wind through leaves. "We thank you for our lives, Captain Martinez. But we must ask, what are humans truly?" Captain Martinez considered her answer carefully. The Mylorans deserved honesty after what they had suffered, and the galaxy needed to know what humanity really was. "We are what we need to be, Elder Thylar. Today you needed hunters, so that is what we became." The Myloran elder nodded slowly, understanding passing through his eyes. The humans were not farmers or merchants or diplomats. They were predators who could wear any disguise, become any role, hunt any prey. As the human ships departed the Kepler system, they left behind more than rescued civilians and destroyed Ravagers. They left behind a message that would spread throughout the galaxy. Humanity was not what it appeared to be. The hunt had begun. Dr. Kethera had always prided herself on being a thorough scientist. As the Galactic Council's lead xenobiologist, she studied every species that applied for membership. But something about the human response to the Myloran crisis bothered her. The official report said the humans had simply gotten lucky against the Ravagers. But luck did not explain the surgical precision of their attacks. She decided to do what no council member had done before: actually study human history using their own records. Her first discovery made her pause. Humans were the only species in the galactic database that had deliberately driven other species to extinction on their own planet. Not through territorial expansion or resource competition, but through systematic hunting campaigns. She found records of creatures called woolly mammoths, massive beasts with thick armor and dangerous tusks. Humans had hunted them for thousands of years until none remained. Cave lions, saber-toothed cats, giant bears, all eliminated by human hunters, using primitive weapons and patient tracking. The pattern was always the same. Humans would study their prey for generations. They would learn its habits, its migration routes, its breeding cycles. Then they would develop specific tools and tactics designed to exploit every weakness. They would coordinate their hunts across vast distances, sometimes pursuing a single animal for weeks or months until it collapsed from exhaustion. Dr. Kethara's second set of eyes widened as she realized what she was seeing. Humans were not just predators. They were persistence hunters on a planetary scale. While she worked in her laboratory, analyzing human data files, the Hegemony Mining Consortium was making a critical mistake. They had decided to test human resolve by claiming a mineral-rich world that humans had designated for colonization. Administrator Vexthor commanded the consortium's battle fleet from his flagship, Prophet's Edge. He had studied the official council reports about human capabilities. According to the data, humans had weak ships, primitive weapons, and no experience with large-scale space warfare. "Deploy the Worldbreaker Squadron," he ordered his tactical commander. "These humans need to learn their place in the galactic hierarchy." The consortium fleet was impressive by any standard. 12 Worldbreaker-class dreadnoughts, each one capable of cracking a planet's surface. 40 heavy cruisers armed with plasma cannons and quantum torpedoes. Over 100 fighter craft designed to overwhelm enemy defenses through sheer numbers. Admiral Beth Rodriguez received the consortium's ultimatum while aboard the human flagship Apex. She had spent 20 years fighting pirates in Earth's solar system before joining the Deep Space Fleet. She knew exactly what she was looking at when the consortium ships appeared. Bullies, predators who relied on intimidation and superior numbers to get their way. The kind of enemy humans had been dealing with for thousands of years. "Commander Park, initiate Protocol 7, she ordered calmly. Protocol 7 was not in any official human military manual. It was a tactical framework developed specifically for fighting technologically superior enemies. The key was not to fight the battle your enemy expected, but to fight the battle you could win. The consortium fleet advanced in perfect formation, expecting the humans to either flee or attempt a desperate frontal assault. Instead, the human ships simply vanished from their sensors. "Where did they go?" Administrator Vexithor demanded. "Unknown, sir. Our sensors show empty space." What the consortium did not know was that humans had been studying their technology since first contact. Every public demonstration, every trade, negotiation, every diplomatic meeting had been carefully recorded and analyzed by human intelligence specialists. The human ships had not actually disappeared. They were using a combination of stealth technology and electronic warfare to confuse consortium sensors. More importantly, they were using the consortium's own communication networks against them. Human cyber warfare specialists had infiltrated consortium computer systems months earlier. They had studied the fleet's command protocols, identified security vulnerabilities, and prepared virus programs specifically designed to exploit consortium technology. The attack began with the consortium's own ships targeting each other. Automated defense systems suddenly identified friendly vessels as hostile targets. Navigation computers began reporting false position data. Communication arrays started broadcasting human propaganda instead of consortium orders. Administrator Vexthor watched in horror as his flagship's weapons turned toward his own escort ships. "What is happening? Who is controlling our systems?" Answer came from speakers throughout his ship, delivered in perfect consortium standard by a human voice. "This is Admiral Rodriguez of the Human Defense Fleet. Your vessels are now under our operational control. You have 30 minutes to evacuate to life pods before we begin using your ships for target practice." The psychological impact was devastating. The consortium had built their reputation on technological superiority and overwhelming firepower. But their own weapons were now pointed at them, controlled by enemies they had dismissed as primitive and harmless. Some consortium commanders tried to fight back by manually overriding their ship's systems. The humans had prepared for this response. Instead of simply disabling the rebellious vessels, they demonstrated their true capabilities. The Worldbreaker-class dreadnought Infinite Greed attempted to break free from human control by shutting down its main computer core. Human hackers responded by taking control of the ship's fusion reactor and slowly increasing its output beyond safe parameters. "Admiral Rodriguez, to Infinite Greed," the human voice announced calmly. "Your reactor will reach critical overload in 15 minutes. We recommend immediate evacuation." The consortium crew abandoned ship in panic, but the humans did not let the reactor explode. Instead, they reduced the power output to safe levels and took direct control of the abandoned dreadnought. Admiral Rodriguez had made her point. Humans could destroy the consortium fleet whenever they chose. But instead of destruction, they offered something more humiliating: complete domination. Within 3 hours, the entire consortium battle fleet had surrendered, not because they had been outfought in traditional combat, but because they had been outthought by an enemy that understood their technology better than they did. The aftermath was even more terrifying than the battle itself. The humans did not simply claim victory and withdraw. They methodically cataloged every piece of consortium technology, interviewed every crew member, and analyzed every tactical decision made during the engagement. Dr. Cathera received reports of the battle while she was deep in her analysis of human history. The timing could not have been coincidental. As she learned more about human hunting patterns, they were demonstrating those same patterns on a galactic scale. She made a discovery that chilled her to her core. Human military doctrine included concepts that no other galactic species had ever developed. Total war, the complete destruction of an enemy's ability to fight. Scorched earth tactics, denying resources to enemies even at great cost to yourself. Mutually assured destruction, threatening to destroy yourself and your enemy simultaneously if attacked. Most terrifying of all, she found evidence that humans had been treating first contact not as diplomacy, but as reconnaissance. Every cultural exchange, every trade negotiation, every diplomatic meeting had been carefully designed to gather intelligence about galactic military capabilities. The humans had not been trying to join galactic civilization. They had been studying it like prey, animals, learning its weaknesses and preparing to hunt it. Her hands shook as she prepared her report for the council. The implications were staggering. Every peaceful human colony ship was actually a disguised military vessel. Every human farmer was a trained soldier. Every human diplomat was an intelligence operative. Humanity had not just been underestimated by the Galactic Council. They had been systematically deceiving the galaxy while preparing for war. Dr. Cathara's final analysis was simple and terrifying. Humans were not just another predator species. They were persistence hunters on a galactic scale. They would study their prey for as long as necessary, learn every weakness, and then hunt with methodical patience until their target was completely eliminated. The galaxy had welcomed what it thought was a harmless farming species. Instead, it had invited apex predators into its home, and those predators had been watching, learning, and preparing to hunt from the moment they arrived. The consortium defeat was not just a military victory. It was a demonstration, a message to every species in the galaxy that humanity was not what it appeared to be. The real question was, who would the humans hunt next? The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in the organization's 1,000-year history. Representatives from every major species had gathered in the crystal dome chambers, their faces showing emotions ranging from confusion to terror. Dr. Cathara stood at the center of the hall, her 4 arms trembling as she prepared to present her findings. Elder Vostai floated in his energy bubble, his normally calm light flickering with agitation. Dr. Cathara, your request for this emergency session mentioned critical discoveries about human nature. Please explain what you have found. Dr. Cathara activated the holographic display system. The dome filled with images from Earth, ancient cave paintings showing humans hunting massive beasts, archaeological sites filled with the bones of extinct megafauna, and modern military, footage that made several council members recoil in their seats. Honored council members, we have made a fundamental error in our assessment of humanity. They are not the peaceful agricultural species we believe them to be. They are the most successful predators their planet has ever produced. The display showed a map of Earth as it existed 50,000 years ago. Massive creatures roamed across every continent: woolly mammoths, giant ground sloths, cave bears larger than modern vehicles. Then the map changed, showing the same continents as they existed when humans first made contact with galactic civilization. The large animals were gone. Every major predator species on Earth was hunted to extinction by humans, Dr. Cathara continued, but not through territorial competition or accidental environmental damage, through systematic, coordinated hunting campaigns that lasted thousands of years. General Crix's scales rattled as he shifted in his chair. Surely you exaggerate, Doctor. No single species could eliminate all the apex predators on an entire planet. The holographic display changed to show human hunting techniques, groups of primitive humans pursuing a mammoth across a vast plain, never stopping, never giving up, following the exhausted animal for days until it collapsed. Other scenes showed humans using tools, spears, traps, fire, to kill creatures, dozens of times their size. This is what humans call persistence hunting, Dr. Cathara explained. They do not rely on speed or strength. They rely on endurance, intelligence, and social coordination. They study their prey for generations, learning every habit, every weakness, every behavioral pattern. Then they hunt with methodical precision until their target is eliminated. Queen Zakath's compound eyes focused on the data streams flowing past the display. But these are ancient techniques. Surely modern humans have evolved beyond such primitive behaviors. Dr. Kethara's expression grew grim. That is what I initially thought. But their modern military history shows the same patterns on a larger scale. The display changed to show human conflicts from their recent history. Images of naval warfare showed human ships hunting submarines across entire oceans, never giving up the pursuit even when it took weeks to locate their prey. Aircraft tracked enemy forces across continents, following them relentlessly until they were destroyed. Look at their approach to piracy elimination, Dr. Kethara said, highlighting a series of incidents from Earth's solar system. When faced with raiders in their asteroid belt, humans did not simply defend their shipping lanes. They hunted down every pirate base, every supply depot, every hidden refuge. They did not stop until piracy was completely eliminated from their territory. The council members watched footage of human soldiers moving through urban environments, tracking insurgents with equipment that could follow a target's heat signature through building walls and across miles of terrain. The humans did not engage in honorable combat. They hunted their enemies like animals, using every technological advantage to ensure their prey could never escape. Captain Thexara of the Void Runners leaned forward, her cybernetic implants glowing as she processed the data. This explains their response to the Myloran crisis. They did not simply defeat the Ravagers, they systematically dismantled their entire operation. Exactly, Dr. Kethara confirmed, and their victory over the consortium fleet follows the same pattern. They did not outfight their enemies, they out-hunted them. The display showed tactical analyses of both battles. In each case, the humans had demonstrated perfect knowledge of their enemies' capabilities, weaknesses, and likely responses. They had not been reacting to events. They had been executing carefully prepared plans. How long have they been studying us? Elder Vostai asked quietly. Dr. Kethara's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. Since first contact, every diplomatic meeting, every cultural exchange, every trade negotiation has been intelligence gathering. They have been treating the entire galaxy like a hunting ground. The holographic display changed to show human colony ships spreading across their assigned agricultural worlds, but now the council members could see what they had missed before. The ships were not carrying farming equipment. They were carrying military hardware disguised as agricultural machinery. The farmers were trained soldiers. The peaceful settlements were fortified military bases. Every human presence in the galaxy is a military installation, Dr. Kethara announced. They have been preparing for war while we believed they were preparing to grow crops. General Crick stood from his chair, his massive form casting shadows across the chamber. Are you saying they have been planning to attack us? No, Dr. Kethara replied. I am saying they have been planning to hunt us. There is a difference. The display showed human military doctrine files that Dr. Kethara had managed to access through official diplomatic channels. The concepts described within were alien to galactic warfare, total war strategies that aimed not just to defeat enemies, but to eliminate their ability to ever threaten humanity again. They have a concept called scorched earth, she explained. If they cannot hold territory, they will destroy it completely, to deny it to their enemies. They have developed weapons capable of rendering entire planets uninhabitable. They call it mutually assured destruction, the threat to destroy both themselves and their enemies rather than accept defeat. The council chamber fell silent. The implications were staggering. Every species in the galaxy operated under the assumption that war had limits, that civilized beings would not destroy valuable resources or eliminate entire populations. But humans had built their entire military philosophy around concepts that other species considered unthinkable. Dr. Morketh, the council's military analyst, spoke up from his position near the tactical displays. How do we fight an enemy that thinks this way? That is the wrong question, Dr. Kethara replied. The right question is, how do we avoid becoming their prey? The display changed one final time, showing human population distributions across the galaxy. What had appeared to be random agricultural settlements now revealed themselves as strategic positions. The humans had placed themselves along major trade routes near important resource worlds, and in positions where they could monitor the military activities of every major galactic power. They have been watching us, Dr. Cathara concluded, learning our patrol patterns, our supply lines, our communication networks, our political divisions. They know more about our military capabilities than we know about theirs. They have been preparing to hunt the entire galaxy. Elder Vostai's energy form pulsed rapidly, a sign of extreme distress among his people. What do you recommend we do? Dr. Cathara looked around the chamber at the assembled representatives of hundreds of species, warriors and diplomats, scientists and merchants, all united by the sudden realization that they were no longer the dominant forces in their galaxy. We have three choices, she said slowly. We can try to fight them, knowing that they have been preparing for this possibility longer than we have existed as a unified council. We can try to ignore them and hope they leave us alone, knowing that they are persistence hunters who never give up once they identify prey. Or we can accept the new reality. What new reality? Queen Zacht demanded. That humans are the apex predator species in this galaxy, that they will hunt and eliminate any threat to their survival or their interests, that the only safe position is to ensure we are never identified as prey. The council chamber erupted in voices as representatives argued, planned, and panicked. But through it all, one fact remained clear. The galaxy had fundamentally changed. The peaceful farmers that had been welcomed as Tier 7 members were actually the most dangerous predators any of them had ever encountered. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, human ships moved through space with the patience of hunters, who knew their prey was finally beginning to understand what it was facing. 6 months after Dr. Cathara's emergency presentation to the Galactic Council, the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have imagined. The revelation of humanity's true nature had triggered a cascade of political upheavals that reshaped the balance of power across hundreds of star systems. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the flagship Apex, watching as her tactical display showed the current state of galactic politics. Her promotion from captain had come quickly, along with command of humanity's most advanced warship. The vessel looked nothing like the peaceful colony transports that had first brought humans to the stars. The Apex was 2 kilometers of predatory elegance, bristling with weapon systems that most alien species did not even have names for. Admiral, her communications officer announced, "We're receiving a priority transmission from Ambassador Zethkar. He's requesting permission to come aboard for a private meeting." Admiral Chen nodded. She had been expecting this. The political realignment of the galaxy had been swift and dramatic. Species that had once dominated through military might now, huddled in their home systems, afraid to venture into space without human protection. Others had actively sought alliances with humanity, offering tribute and resources in exchange for guaranteed safety. The Miloran Republic had been among the first to formally request human protection. The gentle, deer-like beings had witnessed humanity's hunting abilities firsthand during their rescue from the Ravagers. They understood that their survival depended on remaining under human guardianship. The Saurid Empire, once one of the galaxy's most aggressive military powers, had quietly withdrawn their fleets to defensive positions around their core worlds. General Crix himself had sent private communications to human commanders, expressing his species' desire for peaceful coexistence and trade agreements. Most surprising of all, the Ravager clans had simply vanished. The nomadic predators who had terrorized the galaxy for centuries had abandoned their traditional hunting grounds and fled toward the galactic rim. For the first time in recorded history, the major trade routes were completely free of raider attacks. Ambassador Zethkar arrived at the Apex in a small diplomatic shuttle, accompanied by only a minimal security detail. The blue-skinned diplomat, who had once presented humanity's membership application to the Council, now moved with the careful precision of someone who understood he was in the presence of apex predators. Admiral Chen received him in her ready room, a space designed to project both authority and restraint. The walls displayed holographic star charts showing human naval positions throughout the galaxy, while her desk featured artifacts from Earth, a piece of mammoth tusk, an ancient hunting spear, and a photograph of early human settlements on Mars. Admiral Chen, Zethkar began formally, I come as a representative of a coalition of over 200 species. We wish to discuss the future of galactic civilization. Please sit down, Admiral Chen replied, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. I assume you're here to negotiate the terms of your surrender. Zethkar's expression remained diplomatic, but she could see the tension in his posture. We prefer to think of it as recognizing the new reality of galactic politics. The Council has voted to formally acknowledge humanity's position as the dominant military power in known space. Admiral Chen leaned back in her chair, studying the alien diplomat with the same calculating gaze her ancestors had used when tracking prey across the African savanna. And what exactly does that acknowledgement entail? The Council is prepared to offer humanity tribute, resources, technology, and territory, in exchange for your protection of established trade routes and civilian populations. We also request that you assume responsibility for maintaining peace between species and deterring external threats. The offer was exactly what Admiral Chen had expected. The galaxy's various species had realized they could not fight humanity, could not hide from humanity, and could not ignore humanity. Their only option was to make themselves useful to humanity. You're asking us to become the galaxy's police force, she observed. We are asking you to do what you are already doing, Zethkar replied carefully. You have eliminated the Ravager threat. You have deterred aggressive expansion by military powers like the Consortium. You have demonstrated the ability to maintain order through strength. We simply wish to formalize this arrangement. Admiral Chen stood and walked to the viewport that showed the star field beyond her ship. Somewhere out there, human vessels patrolled the major trade routes, monitored communication networks, and tracked the movements of every significant military force in the galaxy. The hunting net humanity had cast was now complete. There is one more matter, Zethkar continued. Our long-range sensors have detected something approaching from intergalactic space, something large enough to be a fleet, but moving faster than any known propulsion system should allow. The established galactic powers are concerned. Admiral, Chen turned back to face the diplomat, noting the carefully controlled fear in his voice. Whatever was approaching from beyond the galaxy had the various alien species terrified, which meant they were looking to humanity for protection against an unknown threat. How long until this fleet arrives in our galaxy? Our best estimates suggest 6 to 8 months. We have no idea what they want or what they are capable of, but their approach vector suggests they are heading for the galactic core, the most heavily populated region of known space. Admiral Chen nodded slowly. An external threat approaching the galaxy, with the established powers too frightened to face it alone. The timing was almost perfect from humanity's perspective. Ambassador Zethkar, please return to the Council with this message. Humanity accepts the responsibility of protecting galactic civilization. In exchange, we require complete access to all military installations, communication networks, and strategic resources. Every species will contribute to the common defense according to their capabilities, and there will be no interference with human operations, no matter how necessary those operations become. Zethkar nodded, understanding the implications. Humanity was not just accepting the role of galactic protector, they were claiming absolute authority over galactic military affairs. Any species that posed a threat would be hunted down and eliminated with the same methodical precision that had destroyed the Ravagers and humbled the Consortium. There is one more thing, Admiral Chen added as the diplomat prepared to leave. This arrangement is not temporary. Humanity will not relinquish our position when this external threat is eliminated. We are assuming permanent responsibility for galactic security. The age of competing military powers is over. After Zethkar departed, Admiral Chen returned to her bridge and activated the quantum communication array that connected her to Earth's strategic command. The face of Fleet Admiral Rodriguez appeared on her screen, framed by the flags of humanity's various military branches. Sarah, I assume the Council has made their decision? They have, ma'am. The galaxy formally recognizes humanity as the dominant military power. They're offering tribute and requesting our protection against an approaching external threat. Excellent. And the fleet movements? Admiral Chen called up a tactical display showing human naval positions throughout the galaxy. What had begun as scattered agricultural settlements now revealed themselves as a comprehensive network of military bases, sensor arrays, and supply depots. Humanity had quietly surrounded every major galactic power while maintaining the appearance of peaceful farmers. All fleet elements are in position. We have complete coverage of major trade routes, communication networks, and resource deposits. Any species that attempts military action against human interests will be detected and eliminated before they can pose a significant threat. And our assessment of this external threat? Admiral Chen smiled. The same cold expression Captain Chen had worn when first watching the Council dismiss humanity as harmless. Unknown capabilities but approaching our territory. By definition, that makes them prey. Fleet Admiral Rodriguez nodded approvingly. Begin preparations for extended operations beyond the galactic rim. If these newcomers pose a threat to our protected species, we'll deal with them the same way we've dealt with every other predator humanity has encountered. The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Chen alone on her bridge with the starfield and the weight of galactic civilization's future. Humanity had achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. They had become the apex predator of an entire galaxy, not through conquest but through patient hunting and systematic elimination of threats. The various alien species thought they had negotiated a protection agreement. In reality, they had formally surrendered to predators who would ensure their survival by hunting anything that threatened the new order. As the apex changed course toward the galactic rim, Admiral Chen reflected on the journey that had brought humanity to this moment. From the African savanna where early humans had first learned to hunt in coordinated groups, to the crystal chambers of the Galactic Council where they had been dismissed as harmless farmers, to this moment when they stood as the acknowledged guardians of galactic civilization, humanity had found its place among the stars, not as one species among